What's up? What's good? What it do? Welcome everyone back yet to another episode of Just Jivin. This is your host Tarek, and today I have my wonderful friend Dan the Man. Introduce yourself, Dan.
Hello, hello.
He is a sommelier. We work together. He is a fan of the grape. Is that what you would? Yeah, a fan of the grape?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Now, today, obviously, since I have a sommelier with me here today, we are not drinking beer. No. We are drinking, Dan, what are we drinking?
A delicious Pinot Noir. I'm sorry, Syrah from the Santa Maria Valley.
All right, a Syrah from the Santa Maria Valley. Today, we're going to talk about wine and stuff, y'all. So I encourage you to all sit back and relax and just kick back with a glass of your own. Cheers, Dan. That is some tasty shit right there. Now, Dan, I don't know anything about sommelier life. I know you came a while ago when I was still in the groundworks of making a podcast, and we had a lot of fun that day. However, I'm not going to sit here and think that I remember everything that you said.
Sure.
So let's just start off with the basics. We all know a sommelier is someone who just knows a fuck ton about wine.
A lot.
Is it just wine? Is cognac in there as well?
Wine and spirits, primarily.
Okay.
As well as sake and service. But I'm educated in a lot of different things.
Okay. Like what? Like what? Give me one. Like not everything, because I'm sure you're, as you said, you're educated in a lot of things. So let's just take one of those to work with right now. What's something that you really enjoy just about being a sommelier?
History.
History. Interesting one. Why history? Because I would think that it's the ability to drink wine.
Wine is delicious.
Yes.
And that's an added perk of the biz, no question. But I'm a French and Italian wine scholar with highest honors. And I love the history of humanity through the scope of booze.
The history of humanity through the scope of booze. Please elucidate for the audience. What do you mean?
Well, as an Italian wine scholar, we're taught the history of Rome. Before that, the Etruscans. Before that, the Greeks. And how they all had a role in cultivating grapes, spreading them around their empires, using grapes for control of populations. No question. Wine has a rich history. Spirits have a rich history. And when I was young, I didn't have as much interest in history as I do through the scope of something I love and enjoy so much.
That is awesome, because I know nothing about the history of booze. I presume that humans have been drinking for a long fucking time.
A long time.
Yeah.
They found casks that held wine from thousands of years ago. And so we know that we've been relying on this for what we rely on it for a long time.
It brings joy to me. I think that's a little grandiose, but the act of drinking beer or wine or spirits with friends, it makes me happy.
It's great to be shared.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying sharing this bottle with you for sure.
Yes, absolutely. When you brought it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be some good stuff. But then when you said it was like $100-something bottle, I'm like, sir, I am not worthy.
It's just a treasure from my cellar. We've been getting Bienecido wines for years now. It's an exceptional vineyard with an exceptional winemaker from an exceptional family that's been growing grapes for a long time. Of the most demanded vineyards on planet Earth. This one, their Syrah, comes from a very specific block of grapes. They sell the vast majority of their grapes, but they keep a very small percentage of their best grapes and their best blocks and have a very qualified winemaker who produces exceptional cool weather climate Syrah, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir from the best blocks of their vineyards.
So there's cool weather and like warm weather?
There's a lot of different climates.
Oh.
Many grapes exist in more than one climate and thrive in more than one climate. Syrah, Chardonnay, both very versatile grapes and hardy grapes for the most part. They can exist pretty well and thrive pretty well in warmer climates. Although really the perspective from a sommelier, I should be cautious speaking for every sommelier, but it's a pretty sure thing that most sommeliers prefer their Chardonnays and their Syrahs from cool weather climates.
Oh, interesting. Well, I don't know any other sommeliers. I believe you're the first I've ever met, so I can't confirm that.
I think there's a couple out there for sure.
Well, there's got to be. There's got to be more people out there like you, Dan. The world would be a very shitty place if there wasn't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I honestly love talking to people who have a passion for something and are very well educated in it, because I'm not that educated in things, but I have passion for it. So I want to be more educated in them.
We'll all get there.
I hope
we'll
so.
Get there.
I don't know if I'll ever be on a sommelier kind of level, but if I could take a few tidbits of knowledge and, pair a meal with a nice wine, I think I'll do all right.
Well, we can go through some of those details. Wine is sensory, so we enjoy it through our eyes, through our nose, through our sense of taste, even our sense of feel on our palate.
Oh.
And the more that a wine touches all those senses, usually the more overwhelming it can be for your senses, your mind. This wine is prodigal for Syrah. It offers really, as a cool weather Syrah, really tart red fruits, sharp in the nose.
What are some of the characteristics of Syrah?
Pepper spice is really common in cool weather Syrah. Tart red fruits and blueberry. Typically a gaminess or a meaty kind of character. Gives it a really great way to pair with lamb, as we spoke of before. Mm-hmm. And the pepper spice gives a lot of versatility in pairing with food. Not overly heavy on the palate or thick. And because it tends to be not super tannic, meaning that grip and feel and astringency you'd feel, tends not to need an incredible amount of oak or really strong oak char, but just the right amount to bring the really delicate nuances of the grape and the climate it was grown in into integrated balance, for sure.
If you listen to all of that and you don't want to drink some Syrah right now, there's something wrong with you, because that is an amazing description. Is it part of the sommelier to just make all the wines sound tantalizing? Because that's what you do, sir.
I think that most sommeliers don't talk about wines that they wouldn't find tantalizing.
I suppose so.
And so I would have never brought something over that I didn't love. I would have never had to explain something to you that I didn't love. And I'm sure most sommeliers have grapes and styles of wine that they prefer over others, but we only want to talk about the good ones. That's okay. For sure.
And obviously taste is subjective.
100%.
So not every sommelier is gonna have the same palate and all that jazz.
Not every sommelier has the same level nose, the same level palate, or the same level of knowledge, but we're all taught deductibility. And so we deduce the wines as best as we can. And the strength of your deduction really is the strongest element. Taking all the bits and pieces, putting them together, and being able to deduce vintage, varietal, and region, climate, and quality.
All of that is necessary to make wine.
Not to make wine.
Yes.
And there is
to figure out the mystery.
Wine. There's a lot to wine. It's not just about our judgment or what we enjoy. I would say to us, it's about the grape itself, how it's grown in the vineyard, how it's cared for, how it's nurtured like a child, every vine. And not just for a year or two or three, but in many cases, 15, 25, 50 years, 100 years, depending on the vine. I mean, you're nurturing these vines for a long time, and they offer different qualities and characteristics at different stages. And the quality of the care of the vines, the quality of the understanding of the vines and the climate that it's in, and the nurturing of those vines like a parent would nurture their children, that turns out the best grapes on planet Earth, which comes through in the finished product of the wine itself.
Oh, wow.
That's how we ultimately, I hope, make our judgment. It's a very French mindset that the wine is made in the vineyard, not in the winery. And I love some of the super regions of earth like Napa Valley and Sonoma, but oftentimes those wines need to be finished in the winery. The vineyard, the climate, the region itself doesn't exactly always have the ability to integrate the wine completely in the vineyard. To me, super regions are regions that in the vineyard, the wine is created, made, and almost finished. We just have a small part in putting it, together and putting it in the bottle.
Huh. So grapes pretty much their own thing. You need to start making wine before you make it into this liquid form. It's about the cultivation of it.
It's about the grape.
Oh, that's why you say you're a fan of the grape, not
farmer.
Necessarily of wine.
The farmer. Even this wine we're enjoying, the Miller family grew grapes, I think, since 1972. And
where is this? Where is this? You said again?
Santa Maria Valley. It's in Greater Santa Barbara, on the north end of Santa Barbara, and it follows a specific river and a river valley that goes east-west and allows the winds from the ocean to blow into the valley, cooling the valley, bringing in those cool wind, ocean climate with the salt and character from the ocean that you should be able to pick up in the wine. There's no question. I sense kind of a almost aquarium kind of scent to it, like aquarium water. The best way to define it in a way that someone should be able to find. And that's just the salinity and character from the ocean, from the water, and the salt from the water blowing in the winds into the valley, kind of covering every grape and every vine and being a part of the soil over time, even that salinity. And so it shows through the wine. It's that representation of terroir identified by French Cistercian monks in the 1100s, that if you plant a grape in a different spot, a different vine in a different spot, even if it's the same vine, it'll characteristically show different elements.
What's that called? Terroir?
Terroir, intervarietal variability, where certain varietals can really well adjust to the climate and the environment they're in. Chardonnay is one of those that, depending on its environment, it shows the environment really well it was grown in. Pinot Noir is one of those that really shows the environment it was grown in. Intervarietal variability, and you can take the same grape, same vine, same clone, and plant it in different places, and it'll show different characteristics from the environment it was grown in. And that, to the French, is that representation of terroir, the land that it was grown in, showing that land and the characteristics of the land and the climate in that region in the finished product of the wine. And again, they refer back to Cistercian monks in the 1100s who identified that the same clone could be grown on different spots and have a different characteristic.
Ooh.
That's what makes wine so complex. That there's 1,000, 2,000 different grapes. Those grapes perform different in different climates. There's tons of different climates and different soil makeups and different regions and different hemispheres. And when you put all those chaotic elements together in the hands of someone really capable, they can grow an unbelievable grape in a vineyard. And from that unbelievable grape, a very capable winemaker can make an unbelievable wine. And really, the emphasis of what a great wine is how it shows the land it came from. And so I wanted to make sure to bring a wine that came from a single vineyard, a single spot of land, a single place, so that we can identify the characteristics of the region it came from, the soil that the vines were grown on, and how long those vines were there for a long time, establishing their connection to the land and the way that they can pull that connection into the grapes, and how we can, as professional winemakers or blenders, express that character from the land through the finished product of the wine. Imagine, Tarek, if we can't show the land through the wine, then how can I identify what region it came from? That's the essence of excellent wine, is showing where it came from. Rutherford dust from Rutherford, Napa I mean, you can sense that dust and it identifies where it came from. The mineral or the saltiness of this identifies that it came from close to an ocean. Like we talked about of a Bordeaux, you smell that funk, that musk, that mildew. It could only be a Bordeaux. When you sense really, really, really strong chalky character in a sparkling wine, it's probably champagne. Super chalky and austere acidity. The land will tell the character of the wine through it.
That is not something I considered. Well, of course not. I'm not a sommelier. But cheers to you again, Dan. So great wine, in your opinion, is showing where it came from, all the characteristics of the land that it came from. That is gangster. This is some wine appreciation shit right here, y'all. All right, take note of this, because I bet you, after listening to this episode, you will not look at wine the same way again, because I sure haven't. After one conversation with you, Dan, I've never looked at wine the same way again. What got you into wanting to even be a sommelier or learn more about wine?
I was just in it. I was working at a place where all we served was wine. We served it every day. I'm competitive in nature. I was working with someone who had an accreditation. I felt like I was behind them. I could sense that the people around me who I was working with knew more about what I was doing than me. And that didn't sit well with me. And so I started reading wine books, very large, very complete, but very general wine books. And after that, started looking into certifications. I was in an environment where I was reading about wine every day, talking wine every day, drinking wine every day. The company I worked for made me take tests of wine every month, so that we knew the product we were selling to the guest, and just having that exposure and having to be kind of bombarded with it. As a salesman and a professional of our industry, I wanted to know what I sold. And as soon as I got a taste of it, as metaphorically and, spiritually and physically, as soon as I had a taste, I was wrapped up in it. And I couldn't justify slowing down because I was still in that environment, still in an environment completely conducive for continuing education. The company I worked for sent me to 6 different wine regions in 2 different countries. They were invested in making me better. And if I would have wasted that, I would have just wasted opportunity. And I do not like waste. And so I kept doing certification after certification after certification, and more challenges on top of those, because it was just easier in the environment I was in. If I didn't take advantage of it, it would be gone and I wouldn't have it available to use in the future. That
is smart, Dan.
I just have 2 children and a mortgage for 30 years. So I want to make sure that I had stability in our business. And as of, many, many, many years in the business, it was difficult to say that I had stability. And I think that for any business you're in, if you don't have stability, greater education gives you more stability.
Agreed.
And so in essence, the primary driving factor was my competitive, egotistical nature, no question, my desire to build security for my family and have my cake and eat it too. Like I told Larry yesterday, Larry's our lead bartender at the bar I work at and restaurant I work at. I told him I want to retire a bartender. It's been a goal of mine. It's been a plan of mine. And I'm always intrigued by those who have done it. And so, that's the podcast I want to have next, I guess, with a person who is retired bartender, a career bartender.
I didn't know that you wanted to be a retired bartender.
I love the profession. I've done it for a long time. I've made myself better and better and better at it. Educated myself in it, made sure that there's not a circumstance I could be in where I don't know what I sell. To me, a lot of those things matter a lot. So I just stay true to them.
But you say you're not a beer person, though.
I drink beer. I enjoy beer. I just, if I had a preference, I put wine first, spirits second, and beer third. And yet, there's only so many drinks you can have in a week,
Yeah.
Or in a month or in a year to stay healthy.
Yeah.
I spoke to many master sommeliers about this in the past. Like, how do you stay ahead of it? And they said, any way you can. And so if we have to have something we love in moderation. You kind of have to be selective about what you're going to enjoy. And I usually enjoy wine first and spirits second. Beer ends up coming in third, even though it wouldn't be unlikely to buy a 6-pack of Sippin' Pretty and enjoy that out on the patio. I love it, but it would be fewer and farther between than enjoying a couple glasses of wine or a nice cocktail at home.
I feel that. I guess my first is beer, second is wine, third
We'll get you
is
there.
spirits.
We'll get you there. For sure.
Well, probably talking to you, I might just start buying my own glasses of wine, and
I have 1,000 recommendations for sure.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure, because I don't mind wine, and I will drink pretty much anything. There's not something that I've tried that I was like, okay, I'm not drinking that. Okay, no, one thing, Jägermeister. I got alcohol poisoning off of that though, so I'm kind of done off of Jägermeister.
Sure.
Everything else though, I'm game. I'm fine to try it because I also do love spirits, and I may not be a sommelier or anyone professional with the ability to describe what it is that I'm drinking, but if I talk to someone who does, then we will have a long conversation.
The best part of not being a sommelier is that you just get to enjoy it in anything. As a sommelier, I think about every glass of wine I enjoy. And sometimes it's like a responsibility. And so I tell people all the time, it makes sense to be maybe a little jealous of the knowledge, but to just be able to enjoy wine and not think about it, that's what I'm always jealous of for everyone else. And so as long as everyone understands, a little bit about wine and how to understand it and enjoy it and what makes it great, then you don't have to put too much effort after that into the enjoyment of it, for sure.
Can you surmise maybe a few points as to what people should look out for when they go out wine shopping, maybe for your average consumer?
Absolutely. As we talked about terroir, or coming from the smallest piece of land we can, source from. If it's from an American state and the region is called the state, so from California, not a region, but the state of California, not a region, but the state of Oregon, not a region, but the state of Washington. It says it right on the bottle. It won't say a region. It'll say California. It'll say Oregon. It'll say Washington. Those typically are bulk wine grapes, low quality grapes sourced from the lowest costing place in the state that they can source those grapes from. And then the wines are modified in the winery to be what the guest or person who's enjoying them expects that wine style to be. And so if you really want to appreciate wine for what there is to appreciate it for, the land it came from and how we show that land through the wine, always buy your wine from a place that is a region like Sonoma, Napa, Santa Barbara, Paso Robles, Willamette Valley, Rogue Valley, Umpqua, Columbia Valley. Those are actual places, regions that they're grown, not full states that they can source from anywhere within the state. That'll at least give you a smaller piece of land that the grapes were sourced from, so you can identify some element of the land it was grown on. Those will cost more than state appellational wines, but it's no different in Europe. You can buy a $4 bottle of wine from the country France, not a region, but anywhere they want to source the grapes from in France. You can buy Euro wine where they sourced from anywhere in Europe. The cheapest grapes they could possibly buy.
So it could have came from
modify
all kinds
them
of places.
with chaptalization, adding beet sugar to increase the alcohol content, adding tartaric acid to bring the acidity level up, coloring it with mega purple, and creating in a chemistry lab a wine for $3 a bottle sourced from the lowest costing grapes they can buy them from anywhere in the entire European Union. And so sourcing wine from the smallest identifiable piece of land will give you a better understanding of the land it was grown on, so that you can get the most appreciation out of your wine.
Heard. So buy from a region, not
a country appellation or state appellation, but an actual region.
Heard. Let me be clear, and I can't stress this enough, y'all. You giving me the time of day to listen to me bullshit and just act a fool means more than words can ever describe. I truly appreciate it. So thank you. If y'all got a topic you think I might be able to ramble on about, feel free to send it to justjivinpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to see anything else I'm up to, follow the Instagram at Tarik416. That's TARIK 416. And I'll see y'all beautiful motherfuckers here next Thursday for another episode of Just Jivin'.